Richard Martinez here with the Rebuilt You Show, where we are highlighting people who are serious about growing their lives, about all the most important areas of their lives, them winning and doing it with integrity. All right, on this episode, it's going to be very fun and high energy because we not only have one guest, but we have two. And this is a dynamic duo. These two guys right here are doing some amazing things in their industry and also pioneering some new stuff when it comes to fashion and TikTok and social media. Amazing things that they have been doing, and they've been doing it with good hearts. You're going to see these amazing stories and you're going to be inspired. Check out Eli and Mike. So let's just introduce yourselves. Tell me who you are, where you're coming from, and I'll just start to pull things.
Perfect. Sounds perfect.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm Eli Delgado. I've been an entrepreneur for a pretty long time. I'm looking at about 25 years in entrepreneurship.
So you started at 5?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like 25, 30?
I wish. I'm 45, going to be 46 this year. But no, I have a 20-year-old daughter that actually has already moved to Washington. So I already cried about that. And my son's 17. So previously divorced. Now I'm with a pretty cool person right next to me. But
okay, all right. Little power couple.
Right. Power couple.
Dynamic right here.
Yes, sir. But yeah, I mean, life is a blessing, and I take every failure as a win because I learn from it. So I think it's interesting how everything turns out.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm gonna dig more into that. Right. There's a lot of stuff there already.
Right.
You're like, I was married and I had kids, but now I'm like, whoa.
Exactly.
So we're gonna dig into that.
Yeah, right. And so then I'm Mike Vizcarra, and we've been partners for about 13 years now. We're fathers, so basically we have two children, like he said, 20 and 17. So in about a year, our kids are, gonna probably be out of the house. I've been raising them as like the second parent.
Yeah.
We've had them, ever since I've been involved, it's been like, basically 100% where we take care of the children.
Your daughter was 5 when you came into her life?
Our son was 4 and our daughter was 7.
4 and 7.
4 and 7.
So they know.
Oh yeah.
That's all they know actually is him.
Yeah. Right. And so it's just been an amazing journey. Us being partners together, we have created me being real estate and loans, and now we're doing influencing. So much that has happened in this 13 years, and just being partners has really let us, skyrocket to the top, truly.
It's amazing. And I've been watching you guys on, since I've met you guys on social media. You guys are all into all kinds of different things.
Yeah.
Having fun while you're doing it, always dressed nice, cleaned up.
Thank you.
So it's awesome.
Appreciate
it's really cool to
that.
see what you're doing. Now, let's see where this came from.
Right.
So I'll start with you. I'm going to dig a little bit more, and then I'll come over here.
You got it.
So how was it growing up in your home, your parents?
So my upbringing wasn't too bad. Honestly, I have 2 parents. Both of them were working at a dairy company. They were there for about 30 years.
Both of them?
Both of them. Yeah, they were both working at the same place.
That's where they met each other? Or?
No, so they're both from I don't know if it's a country, but it's Mexico, but Zacatecas. That's the
That's my family's from.
Oh my God. All right. Well, we're from Zacatecas, right? There you go.
I knew there was something.
Right. So I'm a doctor now.
Right. Doctor. Wow.
So anyway, the doctor's from Zacatecas. But I can't say that I was actually brought up in poverty, but I will say that we didn't really always have a lot of money. It's not like we had Disneyland passes. It's not like we had all those luxuries. Then my mom always cooked. She provided food for the table. I never got beat. The family was very well. But we didn't have an abundance of money. I wasn't able to go to private schools, nothing that fancy. But I think my upbringing was sufficient enough for me to understand the physics of life, how it is to kind of do things on your own. I started working when I was 15 at McDonald's. That was my first job.
That was your first one?
That was my first one.
Was there any things that you did under the table before that one?
No, believe it or not. No, I was just I'm going to say I was an A student. I was just in there grinding, getting my A grades.
Right.
That's one thing. My parents were always like, get to school, get your grade A's, and let's go. So personally, I feel like my life was abundant. I can't really complain about it. I feel like I was brought up in the right lifestyle. I think if I didn't see my parents struggle slightly, I think I would have had that mindset of life could be very passive and I'm okay with it. But because I saw the struggles with them,
that's a good point.
Work.
Yeah.
It made me think of life like, I don't want that lifestyle. I love that they were working. I love that they provided for the table, but I don't want the lifestyle where you're forced to work together. That's one of our goals. We want to find a way or means where we can exit somewhere. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're doing so much. It sounds crazy. We're doing so much, but even then it's not enough. but we're doing so much that I feel like.
But it's on purpose for a temporary time to get to a point. Like what is that point? Like, where do you want to get to?
Well, I think that if we can focus our energies, I think the biggest thing in relationships with us is both being males, we're very both dominant mentally, and we both want to fight together. And the hardest part in a relationship for us is we both want to go into north, but our norths are sometimes different.
Sure.
But we're both going north, but they're sometimes different. And that is sometimes the issue with us is how do we get north together and attack that particular, phase of our life together versus we're both attacking two things at the same time, but they're different aspects of our life.
I think that's just relationships, not even just because you're both male.
Yeah.
It's just different personalities, different backgrounds, different beliefs, different values. Exactly. Two different worlds coming together to make one. Yeah.
Right. Something kind of like you and Adriana probably deal with, right?
Yeah, same thing. Every relationship.
Right.
Thank you. Right. But I feel like my background's good. I mean, obviously, ended up getting married. She's an ex now, obviously, but we had our kids together. We grew a certain lifestyle.
Let me go back a little bit. How was it going through like high school? How was high school for you? I know you said you did really good. Did you play any sports?
So I played baseball when I was in elementary school. Then I got into band. I always felt like I needed to perform or do something. So I learned how to play certain instruments: clarinet, trombone, saxophone, tenor sax. I even got into choir just to see if I can have vocal cords to kind of sound better.
Right.
I tried it all. I even tried computer classes. I went into technology. But at the end, I felt like I just loved business. So I got into accounting as a major during high school. But my high school wasn't really the best because I was such a nerd that I was bullied substantially. Like I was very heavily bullied by certain people.
Ask that. What kind of bullying? What would they do?
Punking me around, pushing me around. If I had my hair done a certain way nicely, they'll come here and mess with my hair. And I'll just sit there and accept it and be like, all right, I don't want to fight with nobody. I was too much of I don't want to get hurt.
And isn't it crazy? Because like sometimes you see these on shows and stuff like that and you're like, that doesn't really happen. But then when you hear somebody's story, you're like, wow, like that actually happened to you.
Yeah,
it opens up your eyes a little bit,
And that happened all the way to,
kids, man. They can be ruthless.
No, yeah.
What did that do to you? Because I know you would stay quiet, but what did you feel like it was doing to you as far as like your belief in yourself and self-esteem?
You know what's really crazy is I never seek vengeance or hurt on other people. I feel pity. I feel sorry for them.
Even at that time?
Even at that time. Like I would just sit there and I'll be sad about it, but I wouldn't go home and cry. I would just go home and be like, I just feel bad for them. Maybe there's bad parents. They don't treat their kids right.
How would you already think that way at that age?
I don't know. Right. No idea. Yeah. So everybody knows that I am the most happiest person that most people encounter. I don't stress. I don't get angry. I don't get upset. Obviously the answer is, do I get angry at all? Yeah, but I don't ever show it. You'll never see me get depressed or angry or vengeance, or I'm going to go, I can't wait to see you be miserable. I just see it as everybody's life is different. They grew up differently. Maybe they didn't have the right parents. Maybe they weren't around. Maybe they just are watching bad stuff on TV. I don't think people intentionally want to be mean to you. I think people are mean because they don't know any better. They've never been taught the lesson of life.
Or they're broken.
They're broken. And I just didn't want to be that guy that's defeated and lay there. I'm broken now. Let me slit my wrist, or let me talk shit to somebody, or let me be depressed and jump off a mountain somewhere, So I just took it away. My takeaway was, even though I was 15, 16, 17, was just, I'm not going to let it get to me. I got a vision. I got to work hard. I want my parents to be, retired as early as possible. And they're retired right now. We pay for the mortgage together for their house. And
so they had so much, like instilled so much value and love in you, where you already had this thing where that became a big part of your purpose at that age, where I just don't want them to work anymore.
I just felt that.
Because who in high school is already thinking like this, man? Like, where the heck
I don't know. I don't know.
And you said this is the first time you've heard this?
Oh, yeah. This is the first time I heard this, actually.
Yeah, I just feel like I love my parents to death. I feel like their generation came here to provide a purpose for family, for the future of the family. And I feel like we owe it to them to level up that foundation for our kids. So if I fail at the beginning stage, I'm just reversing what they've done. And I'm just going to be either in poverty or depressed or get sick. And personally, I just don't want that. So I wake up with that spirit that God gives you. I'm always happy. I'm waking up and he knows, like, I'm a first person. I'm just happy today. And he could be
I
like,
might
do
not
you
be.
know
I
what's
think he
wrong?
would annoy me after a while. Then like, come
I'm
on.
like, I'm
always happy. I'm always
I'm
happy.
so
That's
angry
that's
today.
amazing.
No matter what, like we literally could be
Yeah.
arguing literally 2 seconds before, throwing punches. No, we never throw
No,
punches.
never.
But let's just imagine the scenario.
Emotional
Yeah.
punches.
Right,
And then,
Emotional
within,
punches,
and then
emotional.
within 2 seconds, I'm like,
Yeah.
are you okay now? I'm dead.
I'm like,
I feel better. You feel better.
Right.
I'm not yet.
Yeah.
I'm so angry.
Right. I'm like, I need some time.
No me toques. No me toques.
So true.
You know,
true.
so I just,
That
I don't
was
know what it
real.
is. I just have that abundant feeling. It's just, it's never
Mhm.
gone away. I don't know. I don't even know how to get rid of it. Not that I want to,
No,
but
yeah.
I just wake up and I'm like, hey, even if our bank account was negative at one point, even if the kids tell you to shut up, or even if the car had flat tires, I had a nasty ass flat tire that I was so pissed. But in seconds, once it was fixed, I'm like, what's the point? It was meant to happen. It needed to happen. Probably it was in the future.
And
The
this
car-
doesn't take thought or effort. It's just who you are.
It's just who I am. Yeah.
Wow.
I
That's
know.
beautiful.
I just feel like life is too short. Like, why am I going to fight?
Good job, man. I like
You know?
it.
Thank you.
I'm gonna switch.
Oh,
now,
yeah,
okay?
go for
That
it.
way,
Go
and then
for it.
I'm gonna catch him up to this age, and then we'll go
Right.
like this.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it.
So how was it for you growing up?
For me growing up, let's see here. It was a little bit tough. You know, we lived in like the high desert. So the high desert is like when you're on your way to Vegas, and basically it's just like a desert. So, you know, I grew up in my backyard. My playground was like dirt. So, you know, we would literally go out in our backyard or fields and we would dig holes and play in holes. So
Uh-huh.
like when I look back at it now, I'm like, oh my God, that was so fun. But then I'm like, wait, we were playing in the dirt. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But that was just our upbringing. That's where we grew up. And we did have a family restaurant. So I actually started working when I was around 11 years old. My mom and dad basically were like the managers of a Mexican restaurant that we had. And it wasn't ours, it was our family's. So
Okay.
we were just kind of employees that worked there.
Uh-huh.
But them bringing me into this life of working at 11, letting me work, letting me be like a busboy collecting tips.
And see that you said letting me.
Mhm.
See, normally at that age, it's like they made me.
Right.
So they
Oh,
gave you
yeah.
an option. They
They
said,
did.
"Would you like to?" And you wanted to.
Yes, they gave me an option. I have 5 brothers and 1 sister, and they gave us all the options, you know, like if you want to do it or not. Maybe 2 or 3 of us did. You know, I was one of them because I always felt like I was an independent person, which is so weird because I was 11 years old. I don't know why, as an 11-year-old, I felt I needed to be independent, but I did.
Mhm.
And I think one of the factors,
Where do you fall in the? You said 4 or 5 kids
I'm actually the second to youngest out of 7.
out of 7.
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So you've watched the other
Yes.
ones do things, and I
Mhm.
think this is where you started to instill that independence because they're getting
Yes.
older. And me
Oh
too.
my God,
me too.
I love that. Okay, yes, exactly. So if I could really go back, it is seeing all of my brothers and sisters going through what they were going through.
Uh-huh.
And in my mind, I'm like, I want to be better if I
Mhm.
can. And, you know, again, living in a desert, so, you know, the homes aren't like the nicest homes. I had the blessings of my parents to let me have a home, and I was grateful for it. You know, but living with 4 brothers and your mom and dad and whatnot in a 2-bedroom home, literally, it was pretty tough. And what broke me one night is when
So all 7 of
Mhm.
you were in one room.
it was like 3 in one room and then 2 in another, and then my mom and dad. And so one of the rooms was a laundry room.
Yeah.
So one of the rooms was
I actually
laundry.
remember the laundry room.
Yeah.
I'm like,
So
Jesus.
the thing is, we are 12 years apart. So he met me when I was like 19. I was still kind of around my mom's house. He still got to see it. And so he literally got to see a
Wow.
little bit glimpse into my
Yeah,
life.
that's
we
amazing.
could have talked
You know.
without that. And
I had
Nobody
to throw
needed
that
to
out.
know that.
I had to throw that in.
nobody needed to
Hey,
talk
can we
about
edit
that.
this
That
part?
was- That was the main part of the whole show.
Okay,
And
so
so,
that's
you know.
interesting though. So you got
Mhm.
to see that part as he was like kind of growing out of that and
Correct.
becoming more independent.
Yeah.
That's
And,
really
and
cool.
I mean, without interrupting, I was fascinated by it because I've always wanted to have someone in my life that can grow with me. And when you're 19, there's not much in your life you've already done where you can't change anymore. It was like we had,
Yeah,
we
I
had
was
the ability
19,
to
he
grow.
was 32. So he
Yeah.
already had a whole life, kids,
Yeah.
a wife, everything, a home built from
Yeah.
scratch. Like he had a whole life.
Yeah.
And I was still, you know, 19, barely coming out of this, what I'm telling you about right now.
Yeah,
And, you know, again, what broke me was really that home that I lived in when I was around 11 years old.
Mhm.
This is actually what made me want to work, is because one night I was sleeping on the floor in the living room, you know, there was just no space. And I woke up in the middle of the night and there was something in my hair. And I was like, what the heck? Like, is that? And I literally grabbed like the hugest roach you can ever imagine. And I crushed it in my hands. And I literally sat there for like 3 hours. I never went back to sleep, just shaking. Like, was I just literally laying here with a roach in my hair? And from that moment on, I literally told myself that.
What does it feel like right now as you're sharing that? Because I see emotion in there, but you're kind of rushing through the story. So I'm going to stop you.
He is an emotional guy.
It's,
for sure.
It's actually amazing that it happened. Because I actually remember going back to that moment and I remember telling myself, I'll never want this to happen to myself again, where I'm laying in a floor and I have to deal with roaches in my hair. And so I think in that time, I had the option to go work at the family restaurant. And I was like, I have the option to not, or I can. And I was like, I'm going to use this to make me want to work really hard in my life. And now I always say, that little roach was like the best thing that ever happened to me. Sure. So I'm like, I love that little roach. Yep. Because if that roach was never crawling in my hair, then I may have never been the person I am today.
That was like a huge trigger breaking point.
It was like, it broke me. I was like, I crunched it. I was like, okay, I'm broken. I was I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, I need to be better.
So you started working at 11. What did you do in the restaurant?
And so I was 11 years old. I was like the bus boy. I actually, by 12, was already taking orders on the register, collecting money, taking, food out. People were giving me tips. I was like in 7th grade and I was having like per week $400, but it was because of me going from junior high at 2 p.m. and my 13-year-old brother would drive me to the restaurant. And we would be the bus boys there. So
your 13-year-old brother would drive you to the restaurant.
Yes.
And I just want to make sure I'm highlighting
And I was
says a lot. It says a lot.
And so then we just work. I actually worked there till I was about 17, which is a long time to work at a restaurant. But because it was a family restaurant, I was able to manage it and really do what I wanted to do. 17 and 18, I kind of got a little job after that because it was hard times. The restaurant closed. And then that's when I met Eli at around 18, 19. And our story kind of comes from coins to cars, because when I met him, I was still collecting coins and he was in a time of his life where he was in a bad point of his life. So we were actually collecting coins from the insides of our couches. I already became a father because I met him and I immediately took 100% ownership of the children. I was like the mom now. And we were fighting.
How did you, because that's even like a bigger responsibility. At 11, he took responsibility to go start working, right? And then now he comes at 19 and there's kids. You're still a kid.
Right.
And you still took 100% responsibility to be a role. Like, where did that come from and why?
It actually comes from, I've always wanted children. So for the first 2 months that we actually were together, he actually didn't tell me that he had children. He told me it was to protect it. He wanted to make sure that he was doing the right thing.
The right person.
The right person. So when he told me he had children, I was like, okay, I've actually always wanted children. And the reason is because there was a time, and not anymore, where my parents were people who drank so much that at one point I was so scared that my parents were never going to see my children grow up. So there was something instilled in me that I need to have children so at least they can meet my children. Wow. Because I actually thought I was going to lose them.
Wow. It was that bad. They're drinking, both of them.
Oh yes, really heavily drinking.
What did that look like in the home with your kids? How did that? Because I grew up in a home like that too. So mine was pretty insane. Okay. What was yours like as far as how they interacted with the kids? Yeah. Did they fight with each other? Did they hit you guys?
And I'm totally open to talking about this. And it was definitely to where, again, when I'm like 13 years old, I might be getting in fist fights with my dad or a lot of abuse, like that type of thing. Knives being thrown across the room and it flies right past your head and you're like, did that just happen? Yep. So that type of thing, is kind of the type of abuse that was in the property. A lot of drinking every single night. So, obviously there's like a fight every single night.
No drugs, just drinking?
Just drinking. But, at some point, sometimes it could be worse than that, And so that's the type of like household that I grew up in. And so again, when I'm like 17 or 18, my mind's starting to think, well, now I possibly may only have a couple of years to have children and maybe have them meet my children. And
so even with you saying that, you didn't hold any like anger towards them of how they were, because you're not thinking I need to get out of here. You're thinking I need to have kids so they can see them because I don't know how long I'm going to have them.
Right.
That's Like, how are you thinking like that?
Yeah. You know, I think it was the fact that, I don't know, this made me not have like anger against them, but they did always let me be who I wanted to be. They've always let me be independent. They've always never questioned who I am as a person.
So you felt loved, supported, and
Loved,
understood.
supported.
But they were broken and would do that, so you would kind of give them grace.
Right. Yeah. Even a crazy life that I lived, that I was even with the women for 8 years, from like junior high to I actually met Eli. So I've only been with 2 people. So even then, it was like they were so accepting of me being with the woman and then transitioning to a man, and everything that I went through was always so supportive, even letting me work when I was 11 or 12, you know. But it was just them two always against each other. So luckily, they're still together today. Things have worked out for them. Everything's wonderful. We're super happy. But that alone is what made me want kids. And what's really crazy is I didn't know he had them. So when we met and he said, I have to break you some news, and he told me I have 2 kids, I literally was like, you know what? It's okay. It's a blessing. It's because I always wanted kids.
And you were like, huh?
Right.
Are you sure?
He was like,
You're the
I was
one.
walking out the door like,
You're the
I know
one.
you're not going to want me anymore.
Right,
I'm going to leave right now. He
Yeah.
slams the door like, you're not going anywhere. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I was like,
Okay.
wait, what's
You already got me kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. All right, so I'm going to switch now. I'm going to come back
Yeah,
to you,
love
okay?
it. Thank you.
So now you going through high school, after high school, now what's happening now?
So with my grades, I was able to go to college. So I went to Mount San Antonio College in Pomona, graduated there, got my associate's degree
At
in
17,
accounting.
right?
At 17.
Had to throw
Graduated
that.
at 17. I was actually probably, at that time, I think I was considered one of the youngest college people that entered in college, because at that point I was barely 17. Like I turned 17 when I went right in.
Okay.
So I was like, you're 17 and you're in college? Like, yeah. I got my grades and everything. Went there, graduated, got my associates, went to Cal State Fullerton, almost got my bachelor's. It came down to a point where this Oriental dude knocks on my parents' door trying to sell their home. And he's a real estate agent. He's like, oh, hey, I'm just here to sell your parents' home. Hopefully they want to, no, my parents aren't home. And they're like, well, wait a minute. You look like a sharp kid, because I was dressed to go to work. Because I was already working at a couple of jobs already. Probably had about 30 jobs by then, because I was the type of guy that I got to work. I need money. Like when I was 17, I already had a BMW, because I was like, I need to make good money. Like, I don't know what it was. I was always like in entrepreneurship for like the youngest age. And he offered me a job, and I was like, no, I'm not good for it. So, but I remembered and considered it for a moment. So I thought about it for a minute. At that particular time,
Seed was planted right there.
the seed was already
Yes.
planted, but it took me still a couple months before I decided to join, because at that time I was already making probably, consider I was already college. I was like 20 or 21. I was already making $120,000 a year. At that time,
At 21.
at 21 years ago, 24 years ago,
Yeah, that's good.
which was good for me. And I was like, why am I going to quit and I was an employee for a collection agency. So I was calling
That's not
clients.
easy too.
Right.
Yeah, I was
that's
calling
that's-
collecting.
Yeah, you need grits and you.
Oh, yeah.
tough
Oh my
skin.
God.
The
They
worst
hang
part-
up on you.
Yeah.
It's like-
The worst part is I was collecting for people that needed medical help. So for hospital patients, you owe $100,000.
That's
We're ready
hard.
to swipe your credit card. Oh, but you hear the sob stories, but I was able to make things work, calling insurance companies, calling places where they can just pay for it, and I would be getting paid top
Right,
commission,
yeah.
right? But then I thought about it, right? Because I was like, I'm always on the phone, sitting on the chair, and I'm working very hard, continuously working on weekends, coming in at 5 a.m. And I was like, there's got to be more to making $100-something thousand a year. So I called the Oriental dude and said, hey, I'm interested. He invites me to his house and shows me his custom food that they make there. And I'm like, you know what, let's try it. So I quit my job, started working as a real estate agent first for 6 months.
Was that scary for you? Because you were pretty comfortable and you had
Right.
the
You know
money
what?
coming in.
You know what? No, because from 17 to 21, I had so many jobs that I kind of understood the job,
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
the whole feature of what a job is.
Sure.
So I gained this thing
Sure.
that I don't want it to sound cocky, but I gained confidence.
Yeah.
That I was already like, I can do any job.
Yep.
I don't care what's thrown at me. I can do it.
Yep.
So I went, I'll quit $120,000 a year. I don't care. It was a sales job though. It's not like it was guaranteed income.
Yeah.
It was just commission. So I went from one commission job to a commission job. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't like real estate at all. At all. I didn't like door knocking. Hey, you want to sell your home? I didn't like calling leads, because it reminded me of the same thing that taunted me on collecting.
Mhm.
But I went into mortgage. I learned that mortgages were a little bit more easier, because nothing is better than having someone give them their money. Because a house is keys. I get that.
Mhm.
But somehow, some way, because remember, I'm an accounting major, I'm fascinated with numbers. And because I think I was fascinated by numbers, I said, let me just be in mortgages.
Mhm.
And from there, for 22 years, I've been in mortgages. And I love numbers. I love helping people qualify for houses and get them pre-approved and get them out there with somebody like Mike, who's a real estate agent,
Right.
and go out there and just get their house.
Now, before I come over here to you, once you, that day, closes the door, says, no, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in it. How did your guys' relationship develop from there?
So at that point, it was more official because I was going through the divorce still. It was a 6-month process, but we had an agreeable divorce. It wasn't like, let's fight for properties and all that. She didn't want nothing to do with the brand new property. It was brand new build. We lived in it for like 16 years, built in the city of Corona, and the beautiful hills worth $1 million and all that. And she just didn't want anything to do with it because we built it together at that time when we were together. So like, I just can't stand the memories, the kids going up the stairs. And I'm more of like business, profit, equity. I can sell the home.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I find that I know how to, and
You're
I
not
think
emotionally attached.
I don't get emotionally, well, I mean, actually I was emotional to the house, but I don't really get depressed.
Okay.
So because of that, I'm able to separate myself and not take things so deeply. Like for her, like I can't have the house, but for me, I can have it. But what she wanted was some kind of agreement. So I paid her like $75,000 a year, which is a lot of money. But in my mind, I was like, $75,000 a year, or I keep this beautiful house and I keep all the equity in it. And the money I
That's
gave
a big
her,
picture.
yeah, it's a bigger picture. And for her, it was only for 2 years. That was the agreement in court.
Right. And it was all agreed upon. So it's not like
Nice.
he was trying to do something under.
And that
what
was
she did.
reasonable too. It's not like
Right.
I said, I'm not going to pay you. I'm like the guy that's on the reverse side. I'm like, I'll pay you. Like, what do you need to survive? $75,000 a year. Wow, that's a lot of money. Okay, I'll work hard to make it work. And I made it work. She was happy with it. Unfortunately, it didn't. I mean, not to bash on her. She's a great woman. She's great to the kids. She don't see them as often, but she's a great parent to the kids. But she never took that and progressed. She lived with it. And then now that the money ran over.
Yeah, so give me more.
Mhm.
Yeah. And luckily that it didn't happen. It was just, I mean, I guess I do help her here and there. And Mike knows that. But the fact is she never progressed. And now I just feel bad because I don't see her progressing in life, you know? But anyway, going back to the story, he wanted kids. I already had the kids. It made it easier for us to separate. He was still dating his other girlfriend.
Mhm.
I was still divorcing. At the end, we kind of discussed, all right, what's going to happen? She's the first one.
So what? Okay, now I'm gonna bring you into
Yes,
this part
yes,
too, because you mean you were with a girl and you were with a girl.
Right.
Yeah.
When did that change, or did you already have that there? Like thoughts of it, like curiosity.
I think
Did you already have a relationship with that? No, because you said only
Right.
two, so there
Yeah,
wasn't another
right.
one. So how did that transition happen?
I think for me, like I definitely like always knew, but I also had like really high attraction to like women as well, probably more to women. And so just for like my first half of my life till I was 18, I just was with women, even though in the back of my head, I still had attraction to men. There was a crazy situation that happened
And when you say attraction, what does that mean?
So like definitely like I can see myself being like with a man, literally.
Like physically like touching,
yes,
kissing.
yeah, exactly. And that really made me like, okay, like what am I going to do in the end of my life? Am I really going to be with a man or a woman? And it was a really hard decision for my mind to make because it really fights itself sometimes.
This is at
This is at
17, 18,
yeah,
19?
17, 18, right before I met him. And then a crazy story is that my girlfriend of 8 years, at one point, we got in a fight for like 1 or 2 days. And she literally just went to go hang out with people. As she did that, she did something really crazy. She actually did a home robbery and got locked up for 2 years. She was a crazy girl. And so she goes and gets locked up for 2 years.
Shit.
While she's in prison, I'm like visiting her every weekend. And, you know, she starts telling me like, well, you know, I'm starting to have like feelings for a woman in here, a girl. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to tell you something too. And I tell her about me being attracted to men. So she's actually okay with it. And then I'm okay with her being with a woman in there because we're like not even apart. As she's in there, I never was with anybody else. I always was loyal. So literally when she gets out, I'm like, okay, like you had this girlfriend. I had these thoughts about a man. Is this even right? And then that's when I met Eli. So it was like
timing too.
It was so weird timing. And then again, I was going to have babies with this girl because again, my mindset was I want babies.
Yeah.
And again, within 2 months, I already had a man with babies, and it was just a whole different life change within 2 months. But I've always known that would be my story.
And your parents, they were, how about I know you said that they were accepting, supported.
Yeah.
How about your siblings?
This is a really crazy story. I have 5 brothers and 1 sister. My sister is straight, and then 1 other brother is straight, and everybody else is gay. So at one point,
Before you and out.
yeah. So my younger brother is, I am, my older brother, and then another older brother, and then another older brother. We all are gay, and 2 of them
So
are
you
not.
had that influence that it was kind of already there.
It was like already there. Everybody like came out before me too. I never even went to my mom and told her like I am. It's just like, come on. Like I have kids at 13 years. But yeah, it was definitely there. I mean, to the point where Oprah Winfrey wanted us to be on her show because she was saying like, this is very rare to have a family of that many people.
Yeah.
So it was pretty easy on the family. My mom and dad, again, they never really had to question it because now he has a total different story.
Yeah.
Mine's
Curious.
totally different.
Yeah. So
No, but mine, obviously, I grew up Catholic, so it was very difficult. I didn't come out of the closet till I was 32, which is the 13 years that we've been together.
Right.
So being 32, it's always in my head. It was always in the back of my head. However, because of the Catholic vision of man with woman, I did everything in my power to stay in that straight vision. Like, you're with a woman no matter what it takes. I had kids. I never once thought about a man, no matter what. And that's the craziest part. I even had a friend that we held hands as boys when I was like in elementary school, but I saw it as boys. I never saw it as I'm interested in the guy.
Yeah.
I had no experiences, and nothing crazy. And then just for some reason, the divorce shifted my mindset. I had experiences with women cheating on me. I had experiences with women just being sloppy and like never really being like a woman. I'm not saying about my ex-wife. She was a woman, but I feel like the ethics and the strong force that she had at that time made me start thinking like, was I always this way? Why do I feel attraction to a man? The colognes, the ideas, the thoughts. Am I forcing something that shouldn't be there? And I wasn't too sure of myself. So what I did is I talked to not while we were divorcing, but when I was with my wife, I talked to her, hey, I have these thoughts. I was honest with her.
To your wife.
Yeah, I was honest with her. Hey, I have these thoughts. I don't know. I need to explore them. And she's like, okay.
As you were married.
I was married.
I
And
know.
at first she was against it. So what happened is because he was so against it, which I understand. But the thing is, I'm a human being. I have to know if it's something that I want or not. I can't live the rest of my life knowing I'm either a lie or I'm not living the best of my life. So I unfortunately cheated on her. I tried it and experienced it and realized, and I never had a relationship. It was just,
But you told her.
but I didn't tell her at first. At first I told her, look, it's bad, even
After
evil
you already
thoughts.
did it, you started sharing.
I started, yeah. After I did it already, I shared it with her. I said, look, it happened. And she was very abusive, very upset after this. She just never, after she knew that happened, everything changed between me and her. It was never the same. She never cheated on me because she wasn't a cheater. And I was never a cheater too. But after I did that once, it became, because I wanted to be so Catholic, the church obviously tells you, imprinted in your head, you are a man and woman. I was now becoming this person where I have to hide this truth. So I started cheating more. I started doing a lot more within that scene, but never committed to a relationship because I felt like if I was going to be with a man, now that's the problem.
Yeah.
But if I wanted to have an experience and then come home to my
It's
wife,
not so sinful.
then
Right.
it's not so
He
it
was trying to
bad
get away
as well.
with it. He was trying to get away
But
with
with the permission of my wife, it felt so much more comfortable. It's like, hey, I'm back home. It's okay. It never helped because she was always so furious about it. Like, how come you could be in?
Yeah, that can really mess someone up.
Right.
It messed somebody up. And it did. It messed her up. Eventually, it came to the point I ran into this guy, and I was like, like, there's no way. This guy.
Where did you guys meet?
We met on the website.
Yeah,
it wasn't the most dignified website.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. But he just wrote me and he said, he's like, I have spiky hair. You have spiky hair. I think you're gonna like me. And now 13 years
That had no
later,
words.
And you're like, okay.
I was like, how did this work?
I was like the ultimate
Oh my
catfish. There was no
God.
photo on it.
Yeah,
There
and
was
he didn't
nothing.
have a photo. I
Fake
believed
name,
it.
everything. It
I was
so
like,
fake.
I get.
My name was Ryan. It was like so fake.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. So that was your pickup line.
That was my pickup line.
Yeah,
Like, yes, fake hair. And this photo was a guy with a beer can. That was
Oh my
epic. I remember that photo.
It was you, yeah.
With a Bud Light. I'm like, what the hell?
I was 18.
But I just say I'm in for the ride. It's an experience. But at the end, I felt for him because he was like working, passionate about having a relationship, passionate about like working hard. His history, his story to me was like, this is very fulfilling to me. It wasn't like the other guys where it was just like, just sleep together.
Mhm.
And there was never conversation. Not that I entertained it at the time, but because this guy kind of pushed and said and discussed and created this vocal thing
Yeah.
that made me feel
To
more
commit
than,
intimacy.
more
Into
yeah.
me, you see. Let me share about my
Thank
life. What
you.
about you? Getting to
Mhm.
know each other.
And I think that was what turned everything for me. At that point, I went to my wife, said, look, it happened. It unfortunately is the case. No matter what you say or do, it is happening.
And I also didn't know that he was married. So I don't want you to think like
Yeah.
I came into a relationship
Sure.
with a married man. I actually had
You
no
didn't know.
clue. I had no clue that he had children either. So it was a
Yeah.
very shock to me as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But like I said, I think the limitations of knowing that I was Catholic, it put me in a position where I was forced to at one point be myself. And remember, how old are you? Do you mind me asking?
I'm 42.
So being our ages, right, we're in our 40s. I feel as you take off a decade and the decade before, like he was 19 at the time, I was already 32. I feel like it was harder to be out, that you had to almost be in secret at the time because it wasn't very open-minded to the world yet. It was looked at more like sin, and you're not Catholic people look at you like
Yep.
you can't. Even when I told them about him, my parents, I confronted them when I was divorcing my wife, and I was sitting with her. Hey, I'm divorcing her, and I'm leaving her for a man. And we did a
You
meeting
had
with
that
my parents.
conversation.
With my parents, I had that conversation, and I didn't want to do it, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it.
And tell them how that went because they're very like old school, like Hispanic
Yeah.
parents, you know.
Very
and
Catholic.
mine are too. But again, I had like all these brothers and sisters that were just so open. But
It's definitely a
it
different
was,
story
you know,
because
so how did that happen when you sat down?
So, for one, I wanted it to happen because to me, it's such a 360 with parents. Like, what did I do wrong? How can you be like that? So my parents were very confrontational. What? No. How could you? What are you talking about?
Who more? Your mom or
My dad. My mom was like, nah, no lo creo. No lo creo.
She didn't want to deny it.
Well,
Your dad
mind
was
you,
like,
mind you, from there to 32, I had so many girlfriends. I slept with so many. I mean, I sound like a player now.
wow,
had so many
I'm all
girls.
walking
There were
outside.
so many girls.
I'm
You
all
were.
walking outside.
Had kids,
and he does this again.
Right? Yeah. This is our last podcast.
right? Oh wow. No, but it's just they couldn't believe it because I was even my younger brother, my older brother, like, damn, you know, there's so many girls. I'm just a very intimate person. When it comes down to activity, I'm just like, I'm passionate for it. But eventually I told them, look, this is just the truth. No matter what you say, I'm not looking for you to tell me that yes or no.
Just letting you know.
I'm just letting you know. I will accept your opinions. I will listen to you, but doesn't mean I'm going to do it. So at first they were like, no. The more they saw him, the more they realized me and my ex didn't really belong. And at the end, they also realized they weren't very strong with my ex-wife. They had this, me and my mom and her were kind of, you could do better or something like that.
Okay.
But I feel like that made my parents in time realize what kind of man he was, how happy he made me, how much more open I am. I was very private, grade A student, minded my own business. Now I'm more public. We run social media platforms. We're just more happier and we're just more open to things. And I think that's kind of where things took off with us, you know?
There is the now you're with the man part, but anything about him being so young?
Always liked them young. It's
But
never
nobody
been
else had
something-
an issue with that?
No.
I'm like,
Well,
I
never heard of
I thought it was my brain. No, just
And he
kidding.
always
Well,
liked them all.
that's why you got
And
him
he liked
locked
them
in.
older
Yeah,
anyways.
you know.
But I no, there was really never, I think my ex-wife was the only one that really said like, you're with a kid. You know, other than that, nobody really bugged with it. Nobody really complained. I've always lived a very young spirit. Even to this moment, I feel still like very young at heart. So I don't really feel like nothing about it.
Wow. Okay, so now you're working through your high school. Now
Yes.
now you guys are together because you're
Yes.
19.
Right.
It's 2 years after high school. You're after high school.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now, what is the next move like for you? And if it involves him, great. Or
Yes.
like, where are you at?
Yeah, definitely. So basically, we're together now, and obviously he's going through his divorce, so financial situations come into play now because we're having to pay for this child support. Even though
Spousal support? not
spousal
child
support. Spousal support, because even though the court said 50-50, we were watching the children 100% of the time. So, we were just doing everything to stay afloat because now paying her and then this,
Let me pause real quick on this
Please.
because that's kind of weird for a mom to like,
Right.
okay,
Right.
why?
Right.
I
I could say, if I could
Okay,
just say
yeah,
about
you say
this,
it.
just
Go ahead.
because I do feel like you said a little bit ago, if we can rewind a little bit, what he was doing in his marriage, I do feel like it affected her heavily. Like, I mean, yes, she let it happen, but at the same time, letting that happen for so many years to yourself, you do get affected by it. And I feel like when I came in the picture, she was at the point of already broken. So things were happening where, like, I mean, I took over, taking over the kids. And I would say the same thing to people. Like, it's so crazy to me that a mom, the daughter's already 8 years old, can just in a snap of a finger, because I've only been around for like a month or two, is able to just leave the picture and not be there every night with her children. Because
It's a reminder, just like the home. It's her kids that she loves is a reminder of what's happening here, and that hurt too much.
Exactly. And, before I would maybe look at it as I would look at her as a bad person before. And now we are totally good. It's not like that anymore. Cool. But before I would look at her like it was a bad thing, because again, I would wake up every day questioning myself. How could somebody after 8 years, having their own children and the mother, be able to just step away from, your children? And there was times where, again, I'm taking over the children, and now, we're together. We're going through a little bit of financial hardship. This is where the coins, our story is coins from cars, because present day, Ferraris and Teslas and offices in Beverly Hills on Rodeo Drive. We have offices in the Inland Empire. We built so much. Thank you so much. But 13 years ago, when I met him, because of all this divorce and everything that was happening, our money was really tied up. And it was to the point where we were collecting coins from the couches to just go eat Del Taco. And when we did that, it was to buy our kids tacos too. So I was like finding $5 and change in the couch. And I'm like, oh my God, Eli, we can have dinner tonight.
Yep.
And fast forward to today, it's like we say coins to cars, because we used to collect coins in the couches. Now we have cars and Ferraris and Tesla trucks, all this stuff. Obviously, it takes 13 years of hard work, but we were at that point at one point. Now, again, I just feel that the marriage that they were in really affected her. She's a better person today, but her mind just wasn't all there, because there was even times where I was making the children breakfast and lunch for their school in the brown paper bags. Take your lunch to school. I'll write them little notes like, no matter what happens today, smile. No matter what happens today, I love you.
The cutest things ever.
And our daughter actually would collect them in a little box. And I didn't know that. And one day that box fell out when she randomly went to her mom's one day. And her mom said, what is this? You're not allowed to love him. And she made her throw all the little notes I wrote her over months of her collecting them. Dealing with this at 19, 20 years old is also like, my heart's like, what is going on? How can you be this person? But now that I sit here and talk with you, I understand it now. So this is not to say something bad about somebody.
We're talking about the past.
Yes.
And just understanding the process.
Right. Correct. People go through things, people act a certain way, but maybe that's not going to be them forever. Because again, 13 years later, we were just at dinner with her. Our daughter has moved. She's 20 now. She moved to Washington, and we were able to sit down at dinner together. We're laughing, sharing food, and an amazing dinner with our two children, their mother, and us as fathers. No, nothing as if it was 10 years ago. So.
And I feel like, to add to that, I feel like part of the relationship failed with me and her because she didn't have that ambition, that drive. It was like that woman housing feel that I feel like a lot of women sometimes feel that they're trapped in. Oh, I got to be a housewife and I got to cook for my husband. So she got locked in and she never found her way to become a hardworking individual. Like I don't know if I'm saying that right. I don't want to make it sound like that's a woman thing, but I feel like because of that, it limited her potential to grow with me because I was always hustling, run. And
it created separation.
It created a separation because she was like, I'm going to cook and I'll clean and then I'll go home. And it wasn't as efficient as I thought it would be. So I started complaining too. So the arguments start there, right? But I feel that through that separation, she never grew, and I don't even want to say I want to blame her, but she put herself in situations where she was with the wrong guys, didn't financially support herself. Yeah. She's dealt with the money I gave her, and she kind of like it just went to bills.
And I think that all of these, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think that all this is meant to happen because again, we were going through these financial struggles, and myself, I was like, okay, I need it. This is now all going on. And then I'm like, okay, now I need to upgrade my life in business. So I actually started going to be a dentist. I was going to school to be a dentist because I was like, I need a great paycheck to take care of children. I got my license as a registered dental assistant and even got like an extra certificate just so I could be really involved while I'm going to school as a dentist. But then one day, as all this is happening, I actually saw a check on my brother's desk, and he's a realtor, and it was a check for $13,000.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Dentist or?
yes, exactly. And I'm not saying anything dentist. I love dentists.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, thank
you know, and he literally tells me a really quick story. I'm like, how did you make this 13,000? He's like, I'm a real estate agent. I sold a home. I'm like, okay, how long did it take you to do that? He's like, 25 days. I'm like, so you're telling me in 25 days you made a $13,000 check? He's like, yes, that's what I do. And I'm like, I'm a dental assistant. In 1 year, I made $18,000. And you're at a level of infection that you can get if somebody spits on you or something. It's one of the highest levels of getting infected. And I was risking my life. Yeah, being a dental assistant at $18,000 a year, while my brother in 25 days made $13,000. The only reason why I was in dental is so I can help people. When they came in, they were in pain and crying. When they left, they were leaving no pain, smiling. We fixed their cavities and made my heart feel good. When I saw that I could do that when somebody turns a key and the family walks in the home and they're crying and with happiness, I was like, I'm going to switch my careers and I'm going to try to do this real estate thing because it makes me feel the same. And the bonus was the more money. So you know what I mean? So it was like going from in 1 year that I was a real estate agent when we decided to change because we knew we had to upgrade because of everything that was going on. It was from, at least myself, $18,000 a year to about $190,000 to the very next year. And that was my very first year of real estate. Since then, I have only progressed higher and higher every single year. And it's only because we get to help people that makes us want to continue doing it more.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and the hard part too is he never really got introduced to mortgage when we started because we were going through the coin situation still. Because at that time, remember the mortgage crash in 2008 kind of lasted till like 2011, 12 before things turned around. So when we met in 11, I was still in coins. Like we connected while we were broke. And you know, I had a nice car. I still had certain possessions that I didn't lose.
Right.
But I didn't lose them. It wasn't because I was able to.
It went from like an Audi to like a Mazda.
They just didn't take them yet.
Yeah. In the house,
me.
in the house, I had a low modified, so I was able to drop the rate from like 5 to like 2%. Through a modification, the payments were only $2,600 a month. So we were working together. And eventually, after he saw his brother get the real estate stuff, I eventually went back into mortgages again when the market changed. And together we became this powerhouse: mortgage, real estate, mortgage, real estate, mortgage, real estate.
Yes.
So now we built this little empire we call, M&E Real Estate is our company.
Yeah.
But we're also creating, we can talk about that later, but we have so many different aspects.
So that's perfect. So now you're getting into real estate and mortgages. You guys are bringing both of those things together, which they go perfectly together.
Right.
And it's you guys in the relationship. So how does it work being in a relationship, working together? different personalities.
Right. Yes, totally.
Yeah.
What is it? A decade apart.
Yeah, they can.
He's like,
that is why I do my hair and I take care of my face.
No, he looks great.
Yeah, when you said your age, I'm like,
right.
Everything. No, we're very different. I think that's what makes us a powerhouse because he's like blueprints and a system and like service. And I'm all like sales, forward, take a chance. Risk.
Our personalities are more like,
oh my God.
I thought it was the opposite.
I'm all about risk.
He seems more like,
No, he's like that. He's a lot more
when it
like
comes
that.
to like the business part of things and getting life right, I zone in. And then but like when we're like this, I'll be all over the place. But when it comes time, I'm like, okay, like everybody be quiet. Like it's not,
nobody would know.
You know.
But at the same time, we come together, we sit down and review the options, and then we say, all right, because he knows I'm the guy that's just going to throw a dart and I'm going to care where it lands.
Ready, fire,
go. And he's like, where are you shooting? I don't care. And I'm like, throwing it anyways because we have to do it. He's like, no, but we should have shot this way. So that's obviously the conflict. The harder part is we do work together. We're in the same house. We share everything.
Right.
It's like
just a quick
so
little,
consistent.
Like, how does it work for us? It's like literally waking up at 4 a.m. together. We go to the same gym together. So the whole morning we're together. Then we get home, we have to get ready together.
We're doing the podcast together. We're together,
so
everything.
We're getting ready together. And then, we're driving together. And sometimes we drive to Beverly Hills, which is 2-hour drive and then 2-hour drive back. So, sometimes it's like, you're so bored a 4-hour drive. You start fighting for nothing.
Like, just to bring some action.
Like your hair today.
Bring some action.
Some action.
I already know everything about you. What are we going to talk about? Let's talk about your hair, and I don't like it.
Yeah, exactly. So it can be extremely difficult, but obviously the reward has been so high because it's so amazing that we get to like raise children together. It's so amazing that we've been able to open 2 offices together. It's so amazing that we've just started, but we know one day we will be financially free, and our children and our family, and it's worth going through what we're going through, making the changes. We are people who will tell each other again. I was going to be a dentist. I had a secure job, everything, but he sat me down one day and he's like, "I want you to know you're not making enough," which is very harsh. And I sat there and I was like, I'm like, 19 years old. 20. I'm 20. Like I'm making a check. Like I'm gonna be a dentist.
No, because he would show me his check, and I was like, after taxes and everything, it's like $820. I'm like,
and so it's like, and then obviously everything we were going through at the time. And so for me, I'm grateful that we're like this with each other, because I mean, if you would have seen me that day, I got a little angry, but I immediately went into the mode of, fine, if somebody is telling me this and they want me to upgrade my life, let me review this. I looked at it and I was like, it's true. And that exact same day, I already started looking at ways to make more business. Within days, I ran into my brother, saw that check, and I was like, oh, nice. Okay. It was almost like a calling. So we definitely, even though it's a really extremely hard thing to do, we push each other to be better. And you guys, you and your relationship is actually one relationship we look up to be better. We have been to many of your guys' events, yours personally, Adriana's personally, and every single time we go home and we're like, we just want to be like them. We just have to keep pushing. Awesome. We have to be ourselves. We have to do better. And so thank you guys as well.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. Now, not you guys, where are you guys now with the E&M Empire? What do you call it?
Oh, yeah. So obviously, we work for the mortgage lenders, which is, I don't know if you know Carlos, right? Yeah, so yeah, you do know Carlos.
I met him.
So we might know.
I know him.
So we work for the mortgage lenders. Mike works for Rodeo Realty in Beverly Hills. Our company, we call it M&E Real Estate Inc. It's a corporation. We also run another company called Mastering Your Potential.
Yes,
M&E. It's our initials.
Yeah, right.
It's me. It's our initials. Also, Mastering Your Potential with Eli Mike. We're creating online courses for people to learn how to either be styled in fashion. We have a separate page.
So this is the part I don't know about yet.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll tell you about it.
I know you guys do the real estate and mortgage.
Yes.
Now, before we get into that part, where have you gotten your business, your empire? Where have you gotten it? Where have you taken it so far?
So far in that empire, we hired a number of people. We have our main office is Rancho Cucamonga. I would say the more luxury office is Rodeo, but there's not a ton of business there yet because luxury sits a little longer.
Yeah.
But the real estate that we do in Rancho Cucamonga, it's more consistent. So we have employees there. We have loan officers there. So we grow, we train, we build them. Okay. Obviously, the whole hit with COVID kind of let a lot of people go. They kind of let themselves go.
But I think for us, like when it hit, we just worked harder and we got so much business because we were working so hard in real estate and mortgages. Where it took us now where we sit today is that we've helped so many people in real estate and loans that it pushed us to build a podcast. So now we have our own podcast and our own podcast studio like you. And so that helps us reach out to other individuals that we can meet just like we're meeting you today. And then we're able to help them with their real estate and their loans. We had a guest on our show that it had nothing to do with real estate or loans. We went to dinner sometime after that. As we sat with her, she was like, I'm in a loan right now. She was getting so like the loan was
slaughtered.
Yeah, it was really bad. And within 10 minutes, we saved her. 20 days later, we closed the loan and
saved her $100,000.
We were able to help her. We were able to make a commission. We were able to do so many different things by having the podcast. So it pushed us to build this podcast because of real estate and loans. And then now in like the days that we're in today, in the last 2 months, we actually built a new page, which is Eli and Mike Live. And this page is all about
this is the influencer part.
Yeah, this is the influencer part.
To add to it, so Eli and Mike on Instagram, that's basically our real estate podcast, hanging out with certain celebrity page. That's just that page.
Okay.
Eli and Mike Live, like Mike said, that's really our more heavily influencing with actual influencers.
So basically, we literally just started this page about 2-3 months ago because of all of the people we met on podcasts, all the people we've helped with real estate and loans. We started doing fashion because when we help people with real estate loans, we're always dressed up. We're always dressed like to the T because we know we're going to
It's
help.
true.
You know, we're
always, everywhere
thank
you go, you guys
thank
are always just
Thank you so
standing
much.
out.
And so many people have always told us that though. We're like, okay, let's try a new page, which is our influencer page. It's our fashion page, Eli and Mike Live. And within 2-3 months, I mean, we gained 480,000 followers. Didn't spend one penny. It was all organic. People from around the world have been writing us from Italy to Dubai to Mexico. They're
What
like,
is the audience that's engaging with you guys?
actually, I was looking at the audience today. It's 49% men, and then the rest of them are women. The age group is anywhere from 18 to 24 or 24 to 35. And actually, we're hitting in every single age
But
group
that's on
as well.
Instagram. On Facebook, we also have 335,000 followers.
And we only
So
have
the same brand, the same.
the same.
No, well,
we put that influencing in our page we had already, which is our real estate and mortgage page.
Okay.
It only had like 3,000 followers. As we
literally, we have
today,
3,000 followers. Yeah.
And so as we sit here today, which is like 2 months later, we have about 335,000. And again, we haven't spent no money. We just are doing something that we love, which is fashion. But the great thing is we meet all these people, we dress them in a suit, and then we also now get to help them in the future because we build relationships with them. And then we're like, hey, also later on when time comes, we're here to help you with your mortgage and your real estate.
Now, when you say you put them in a suit, what does that mean? So what is the product there? What do you offer?
So the whole thing is about kind of looking at yourself in the perspective in front of your own mirror and saying, all right, you're dressed kind of like, I'm going to say sloppy, or maybe you're dressed in gym gear and you don't see the beauty of dressing up like if you're going to go out and be something amazing. Like, you know, you and Adriana, when you guys go to an event, you guys are dressed, you guys look amazing, right? But then there's many times that people just don't see it in themselves. Mentally, they feel diminished or lost, or they don't feel like they can look the best they can. So when we go out there in the street and we hustle, we look for, okay, who can we look out here that we can change their style, maybe change their life. So, and it's all public. So we'll go up to them, hey, for $50, do you mind if we style you? So they get $50 no matter what.
Interesting.
One way or the other, we help.
Yes.
We give you $50, or can we style you? And they look at us, they're like, well, looking at you guys, I would love to get styled.
Yeah,
we take
most
them,
of the time it's yes.
So we take them to a store right there. We're recording the whole thing and content that goes on our Instagram.
That's badass.
And we change their whole style. And then as soon as they come out, they're recorded. They're like, wow, I look amazing.
Right.
And
That way they can
that's
have
content.
That even change their self-esteem,
Yeah,
their
correct.
belief, because they're like, oh, it's okay to dress this way. I am enough.
Right.
Yeah.
We even give them like cool sunglasses, like a little accessory piece. And when they stand there.
You purchase that for them?
Yes.
We do purchase
So
it.
have you built relationships with people who can be a
correct.
part of that? And
Yeah, and now we are literally going. The other day we went shopping for ourselves for regular clothes because really we never shop for ourselves now.
Yeah.
And as we're in line, I mean, there was a kid with his parents that asked us for a photo, and it just like was so heartfelt. And we're just like, well, let's get your Instagram. Maybe we can dress you next. And it was just. People are starting to come up to us now, which is such a weird feeling, you know, because we're used to just mortgages and loans and helping people, but not like going in the streets and people are just like, oh, we know who you guys are. And in our hearts, we're like, hey, we're happy people know who we are because we're just trying to help the next person, you know?
More
And we make it
attention to
obvious
that.
too, because our Tesla is like a metallic thing just driving around.
Yeah.
It literally says Eli and Mike and Eli and Mike Live. It's like, you can't miss it. Like everybody's like, oh my God, it's them, follow them.
And if there's like an ultimate thing that I can say, this is why we do all of this, the podcast, the influencing, the real estate, the mortgages, you know, we love working hard and we also love enjoying, you know, after you work hard, you get to enjoy yourself. Maybe go to a nice restaurant or buy yourself a nice suit or take your, you know, have whatever color hair you want. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of hard work to get that. And we want to continue to do that. But our ultimate goal has always been to help the homeless.
This is where I was going to go. I was going to ask you what your purpose is.
Okay.
That's perfect.
Okay. And so our purpose really is to help the homeless. So when we are,
Both of you have the same?
we have the same, and he also has a different vision on our fashion. So there's kind of two different things, but the vision is truly that we are able to have enough money that we could clear up the streets because we are in Los Angeles and that'll be our starting point. And we clear up the streets where there's so much homeless because nobody's doing anything about it, that you're able to go back into these cities where there used to be amazing world cities that you want to go visit, that now you go to them like Los Angeles. And it's unfortunate to say this, but you go there and it's nothing but homeless. You cannot enjoy Los Angeles anymore. And we want to be those people who are able to help so many people by selling mortgages and real estate and at one point we have money now and we're able to build homeless encampments that are done right, where you can help people come in there and they can go out and get a job and they're monitored correctly. And it's not something where they're also governed and, controlled, because, that might even keep people out of it. So there's so much that has to go into it, so much money. But in all reality, we know once they get helped, then we also can enjoy ourselves too, because you're not walking around the corner and you're running into people where, they're just,
you're not safe,
and they're going
you can't bring your kids there because what they're seeing.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, we were driving past the park one day with our children. It's one of the parks in LA, and there's huge ducks you can ride, swans. You can ride them. They're like the paddle boats, and the whole park is surrounded with homeless tents and whatnot, and you can't even get out of your car to just take your kids.
You almost feel the
enjoy
fear,
the park.
like you're almost feared to even get out to have your kids subject to that.
So if
and
we
we don't
can-
know what can happen.
So if we can truly help like the homeless, because we know we're helping people, that's always been our goal. Then we know, hey, we're helping people, we're working hard, and we can enjoy our lives all at the same time. So it's kind of like a little thing that we have to do to make sure it all works out.
Yep.
That's something that our ultimate goal
That's
would be.
the definitely the ultimate at the end. I feel like in that process of development, I feel like as a gay couple, I feel like we are creating this perspective, this open mindset of, all right, doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter if you have kids, doesn't matter if you work together, one way or the other, you can find a way to collaborate, connect together, and make it work. Because a lot of people, like with my experience, they'll never come out of the shell. A lot of people with his experience won't come out of the shell. And you realize, hey, we can be the pioneers of saying you could work two industries in the same field. You could have kids. You could have divorces. You could have these problems hit you.
Yes.
You could go from coins to cars. And we went from coins to cars to cars to coins, and then back to coins to cars.
Yeah,
it happened. It's been in those 13 years. It wasn't always just coins to cars. It ended up dipping again.
Yeah.
So we learned from that what the mistakes are. But I feel like us being those pioneers, that there's people out there that don't even know how to come out, that don't understand how important it is that life is so short.
Right.
You only have so much time to be free and be who you want to be. And the problems in life is you go to different countries and you're subject to the rules and regulations. Some places will look at you as like, rock that guy, because that's not how it's looked at there.
Yep.
But obviously we can't change countries, but we could in time show the world, hey, it is okay to be this person. It is okay to come out of your shell, even if you have kids, or if you're Catholic, or if you have these.
Or if you're at the bottom of
Great
the bottom.
message.
Just like the people who are homeless out there, they're at the bottom of the bottom and something happened. You know what I mean? Something has happened to us, but we were able to pull ourselves out of it for whatever life experiences we went through. But sometimes individuals don't have something to pull them out. And if we could be those people that can pull somebody out of that dark place, because we were there many times. We even have in our garage right now, every single day when we leave, we have the can filled with coins. Not as
a reminder.
It's a reminder. It's a reminder
Yeah.
to that we were there. Not that we're gonna go back, but that we were there. And it's a clear can, so you can see
And it's
all the
full of
coins.
coins.
And it's full of coins.
Yeah.
So if we could be those people that if you were in such a dark place, and we can help you pull you out. And because some people, and when I say homeless, not a lot of these people are there because of choice. Maybe something happened to them, a mother and their daughter or something, and now they're homeless. Not everyone's homeless because they want to be there doing drugs. So we want to help those people, and that's like our ultimate goal.
Good job, guys.
I mean, if you put yourself in other people's shoes, that makes you a more astute person. Like if you think about a poor person, there's a reason why it happened. Maybe their parents died. Maybe they were in an orphanage. Maybe there was a drug involved. Maybe that made one mistake that one day, and that ruined their life. I have a cousin that one day hanged out at a club one day too long with his friends. The next day, to this day, he's never been the same. He did a certain drug. I don't know what it was. And to this day, he still remembers 20 years ago, but doesn't remember things that are going on right now.
Yeah.
He'll tell me, "Oh, how's your wife doing?" I'm like, "Huh? Like, what are you talking
He's
about?"
not all there anymore.
Like, and he'll be right next to me.
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, hey, what's up, bro?" I'm like, "What? Like, who are you talking to?" So I feel like things happen, and we owe it as human beings, given this life force by God, that we have to do everything it takes to help people that were never given the definitions of life like we were, because we're lucky to have been blessed with kids and life and money and finance and success. But in that process came failures and torture and problems and all these different things we can imagine. I mean, we should be bald and 1,000 years old right now with all the problems we've had. But you know what?
Yeah.
We're just trying to give back as the most we can.
I'm gonna ask some random questions, and then I'm gonna have you guys speak straight to the audience to break some of these things that people are dealing with
Okay.
that. First, I'm gonna ask some random questions. Okay.
Thank you.
What do you fear?
I fear that my kids will not be left with a legacy. I feel like I think that's the biggest fear for most parents, at least. I think I said it earlier on the podcast. I feel like if you can find a way to do everything you can to hold yourself accountable with not necessarily finance, but educate yourself. So even these podcasts, we're learning. We're learning from you. And that's why we do podcasts, because it's kind of like you kind of entrap somebody. Yep. You're locked in with me for an hour and I'm going to absorb your story. And then now I know more and I learn from that and I continue growing. Yep. So my biggest fear is just knowing that if I fail my future generations. Because if I don't make it through and have my kids be either educated or give them a financial position to level up from where my parents left me, I fear the fact that it won't last.
I believe that 100%. Like as parents, our ceiling should become their floor.
Correct.
Where they build off of. Mm-hmm. What do you fear?
I fear that I will not be financially set enough that I will be able to help the mass population. That's something that I fear so much because it's like my life goal that I've already been able to help myself. So I should be able to help other people. It does take, money. It does take finances. I wake up sometimes and I'm like, I need to work harder because I want to be able to help other people.
What keeps you up at night?
Let's see. What keeps me up at
Besides
night?
Me? No, not in that way.
Right.
Right. No.
Let's see. What keeps me up at night is you go first.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And now, obviously that can change in different seasons, but in the season that you're in right now, what's keeping you up at night?
To be honest, I'm such a heavy sleeper, but the things that keep me up at night would be more of knowing that just not doing enough. I feel like every night I lay in bed and I'm just like, was it even a full day? I feel like the day just went like that. Mm-hmm. And I never feel like I'm fulfilled enough. Mm-hmm. So am I fulfilled in life to have kids? Yes. And things are going forward and backward. I mean, sometimes it's backwards, but I just feel like there's never enough hours in the day. I just don't think I finish the day with work and it's Scarlett and Scarlett's our assistant. And then Mike will sit there at the end of the day. How did the day go by? I feel like I didn't do anything. Mm-hmm. I feel like I never progressed. Mm. And even though in the long scheme of things, it looks like you progressed to some extent. I feel like I didn't. And I feel like I don't deserve to sleep. Yes, I sleep like a baby. Mike knows I can knock out really fast. So I go back to I'm never stressed. I don't get depressed. I can fall asleep and feel consciously at peace. But when I do have that mindset, I'm like, it's not enough. I got to work harder the next day. Makes sense. So what do? I wake up happy to make sure I never have that, I'm angry and now I'm in my day's room.
And I think what keeps me up actually is not getting back to somebody. So like if I know that I can work in somebody's like, okay, and I tell them I'm going to get back to you because I have to do some research. If I don't get back to them, I literally cannot sleep.
Eats you up.
Yeah, like I cannot sleep. Or if somebody's like, oh, like they text me and it's in my phone and I even have the little blue dot because I haven't opened it yet. I'll be laying in bed and I'm like, I need to get back.
I have to answer, but it's too late.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just because like I'm a people person. Yeah. So it's like I feel like that's so disrespectful to me. And then you never know what could happen with those relationships. Sure.
So okay. That's a good one. Mm-hmm. All right. So in thinking of the audience now, okay, I want to have you both speak straight to the camera.
Got it.
And thinking the people who are watching this are high performers. They are entrepreneurs, business owners. They're people who are working hard for their families and they struggle with balance. They struggle going home and giving them their leftover low quality energy and they feel guilty about it, but they're working for their family and it's hard for them, right? And even wanting to build their business, wanting to scale and hire, and they don't know how to do that. So they're doing everything. Their health is, their self-care is going on the back burner, not taking care of themselves. So you're talking to those people right now.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
So from your different perspectives and different backgrounds and different purposes, right? What would you tell them? So one by one, just tell them straight.
You got it.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Like straight and just freaking, this is get it. This is get it.
Definitely. As powerful individuals that you are out there, honestly, what changed my mindset, what has changed my drive, what keeps me going is actually being yourself. Being yourself can catapult you to the top. Sometimes you might come home and you were just working all day. You forgot who you were. Maybe that day you just were in a uniform that that's what is told that you are supposed to wear. maybe when you get home, you wear something that you want to wear. Things that have changed our life is like being ourselves, because at one point we were making a certain amount of money, but then when we were ourselves and we started dressing in the color suits we wanted to, cutting our hair the way we wanted to, acting young because we are, or acting our age, or acting younger, or acting older, whatever it was that we did, dyeing our hair different colors, being parents, doing things that we love to do, even if it's for like 5 or 10 minutes, it literally has changed our world because we literally get to be ourselves. Because in a world of being so busy and caring about so many other people, you are always last. And even if you can give yourself 3 or 5 minutes, again, that can be so powerful, because then it turns into 10 minutes, it turns into an hour, it turns into a week of you taking care of yourself and going on a vacation, or going to the gym, or changing your looks, because you are worth it. And honestly, if you put yourself at that level, you could be so more amazing than what you already are.
Yeah,
that was a good word.
Thank you.
That was
Thank
beautiful. Good
so
job.
I'm a little bit more harsher. I feel like
Get 'em.
Right.
Yeah.
Look, listen to me.
I'm taking out the whips, but personally, I feel like, even more than regret, I think regret is definitely a killer, but I feel like bigger than that is complaining. I feel like we wake up and you just want to complain about every single thing you can possibly imagine.
Yeah.
And at the end, you're the subject of the reason why you're complaining. You're the main reason. So I feel like, life is happening for you. Accept it and realize that complaining is just a waste of energy. You got to wake up happy, go out there and hustle. Write down, the first thing you should do is get your journal. And if you don't journal, get it together, man. Like, get a journal and write down your thoughts, brainstorm your day, look at your bank accounts if you need to, write down the top maybe 5-10 people you need to talk to in that day that are important, somebody close to you. And I feel like if you find a way to stop complaining about the situation you're in, you start envisioning where you should be more than where you're at. And then instead of going home and saying, oh, this shithole, or I don't like my husband or my wife, they don't let me be real, like Mike said. You got to find a way to, realize that complaining is only going to set you back and never let you go forward. So yeah, if you're a risk taker, yeah, you do things. Yeah, you feel like you're in control. But if you don't wake up happy, if you don't run the business the way you tell yourself you should, because you're worried or you're complaining about something or somebody else, most of the time people complain about somebody else because they want to point fingers. Oh, that's the reason. Look at yourself in the mirror and be like, it's you. Mm-hmm. Fix it. Find a way to be strong about it, because life is short. Before you know it, you're 46 like me. And then you're going to be like, what happened? I was 20. Then I told myself when I was 25. Mm-hmm. I told myself when I was 30. I told myself when I was 35. I told myself when I'm 40. Now you're 45. And you're like, I still keep telling myself the same story.
Wow.
So change. It's that simple.
That was powerful. Bless you guys. Thank you for who you are.
Thank you.
Who you're becoming. I'm proud of you guys. For the time that I've known you and seen you, I've seen you guys grow.
Thank you.
Individually, as a couple in your business. And this is just me watching from the outside on social media.
Wow.
We've had a few interactions, having dinner, talking some at events.
Yes.
We had a dinner where we had a deeper conversation,
Yes.
So I've got to know you, and I see the kind of hearts that you guys have. You have really good hearts.
Thank you.
You're smart, sharp, you're doing things with integrity. The energy that you guys bring it's awesome, because people, they have a hard time doing that. Right. And they do complain and they are negative because life is hard. Mm-hmm. And it's not because it's easy for you guys, but you guys are making a decision on a daily basis to not fall into that.
Yeah.
And that's a great example for your kids. It's a great example for your team. It's a great example for your clients. It's great